The Olympic bid process determines which city will host an Olympics. Like the Games, there are both winners and losers. This past week, the International Olympic Committee convened in Copenhagen to decide between Chicago, Rio de Janeiro, Tokyo, and Madrid for the 2016 Summer Games. The city of Chicago has a long history with the Olympic bid process. Chicago won the right to host the 1904 Summer Olympics, but the Games were relocated to St. Louis to occur alongside the famous World's Fair. Last Friday, Chicago was rejected as an Olympic host city once more, this time losing the bid to Rio de Janeiro. Chicago not only lost the bid, but they were the first of the 4 cities to be eliminated in the voting process. This all came despite President Obama being the first U.S. president to attend the final IOC voting. Rob Livingston is the founder of GamesBids.com, a website that tracks Olympic bid processes and rates the bids of each candidate city. He says each bid had its strengths and its weaknesses.
What Rio had behind it mainly was the fact that the Olympic Games had not been held in South America before, and the IOC president, Jacques Rogge, in his candidacy for president, he said that he wanted to reach new frontiers with the Olympic Games, and he was talking about South America and Africa.
South America will be a new frontier for the Olympic Games. The 2016 Summer Olympics will give a continent of over 300 million people Olympic home field advantage for the first time. But despite its winning bid, Rio is criticized for its lagging economy, poor security, and sparse hotel accommodations. Rio is also set to host the 2014 World Cup, and some critics question whether or not the city will have enough money to financially support 2 of the world's largest sporting events. Madrid's bid was praised for its technical quality. Livingston says it also had something else on its side: experience. This was Madrid's 3rd attempt to get the Summer Games.
Spain has a lot of recent bidding experience, and that showed up. They had an excellent plan. It was a well-developed plan because it has been in the works for the last 6-7 years from previous bids.
Geography helped Rio's bid, but it may have been the very factor that eliminated Madrid. Neighboring European city London is set to host the 2012 Summer Olympics, and it is against Olympic tradition for the same continent to host 2 consecutive games. Tokyo's bid stood out for its secure finances. It was projected that the city already had $4 billion in the bank to spend on the Olympics. But Livingston says Tokyo's presentation may have been poorly received by the IOC.
They're not really good presenters. They don't get emotion across. It's a cultural thing. Not really their fault, but the IOC members and some others told them this.
Many thought Chicago was the favorite to win before Friday's vote. The city had over half of its proposed venues already built and was expected to raise a record amount of sponsorship funds. Livingston says Chicago's primary weakness was the fragile relationship between the U.S. Olympic Committee and the IOC.
The leadership of the United States Olympic Committee is new. And the new leadership, they're not from the sports industry. They don't have a relationship with the IOC yet. And that's a big problem because a lot of these elections are won on personality and friendships. The leaders of the other bids were well known to the IOC. They were athletes, and they were involved in the Olympic movement for several years. This is really important, and this is probably one of the things that really sunk the Chicago bid, is they didn't have the personal relationships that they need in this kind of contest.
This relationship did not improve when the 2 Olympic committees talked television rights. Sparks flew and the U.S. Olympic Committee proposed launching an Olympic network that could potentially steal advertising revenue from the IOC's current network contract. Not even President Obama's history-making trip to Copenhagen was enough to bring the Olympics to his home city of Chicago. With as much hype placed on Obama's visit as the IOC vote itself, Livingston believes the visit may have done more harm than good.
The IOC members aren't used to being upstaged. There's a lot of prominent people who are IOC members. There's royalty from different countries. And they might have been a little put off by the fact that the president was receiving all this attention.
Despite all of this, many Americans remain stunned that Chicago received the ultimate rejection, being the first of the 4 bid cities to be eliminated. One theory is that Chicago and Rio were the 2 favorites. To ensure that Rio won out in the end, many of Rio's supporters voted for Madrid and Tokyo in the first round, hoping to knock Chicago out of the competition. USA Today reporter and ABC correspondent Christine Brennan says this kind of voting is unethical.
It's just amazing to think that the IOC wants everyone to kiss its ring, and what Jacques Rogge and the other IOC leaders do for their arrogance and their egos to have these cities and have the leaders of these countries to have President Obama fly all the way over, all the way back, and then have a deal struck by the voters so that, of course, secret balloting, so that Friends of Rio made sure to get Tokyo enough votes so that they could hammer Chicago in the first round. That's just unconscionable that the IOC would allow that kind of nonsense to happen.
While many Americans were hopeful to bring the Games to the U.S., others are thankful Chicago was eliminated. Chicago Tribune columnist Steve Chapman says cities rarely stay within their budget, and that more debt is the last thing Chicago needs.
There are a lot of people who have mixed feelings, who think, it would be great fun to have the Olympics here, be able to see these events that you've always seen on TV without having to travel to the other side of the world. But, is it really going to be worth the cost in money, in congestion, in aggravation, and so on?
The U.S. last hosted the Olympics in 2002 in Salt Lake City. This year's IOC decision shocked many Chicago residents. Rebecca Davies of the Windy City was one of those left disappointed by the vote.
I did support the bid. I did think it would be a good thing for the city. I know that there was a lot of controversy over it, but I think if you are going to have a great city, be a great city, build a great city, those are the kind of things, those events, those big things are the things that make that happen.
A poll conducted by the Chicago 2016 committee showed 72% of Chicago residents supported the bid. Chapman says these disappointed residents, as well as the rest of the United States, shouldn't take the vote too personally.
Sometimes it's not about us. And I think Americans tend to think that anything that happens in the world, is a result of attitudes about America. And it's really not.
Rio's theme for its Summer Games is Live Your Passion. In 2016, athletes from all over the world will live out their Olympic passions in Rio, not Chicago. But despite Chicago's feelings of rejection, the spirit of the Games remains universal and something that can be shared by all the bid cities. Reporting for You Are Here, I'm Katie Bryant.